If I were to tell you that within you, right now, resides the power to heal your body, transform your environment, and live a life so full of grace that it would seem miraculous to the uninitiated, listen closely. I am not speaking to you of a fantasy. I am not speaking of a poetic metaphor or a comforting sentiment designed to make you feel better for a fleeting hour. What you are about to consider is the most practical, the most scientific, and the most urgent truth in the universe. It is an eternal spiritual truth, a law of God as precise as the laws of physics, yet infinite in its capacity for good. You must understand that this power is not something you have to go out and buy. It is not something you have to earn through years of suffering. It is not something reserved for the saints of old or the mystics on the mountaintop. It is your divine heritage. It is the very essence of your being. It is the Father within that Jesus spoke of, waiting only for your recognition to spring into action. However, this power remains dormant until it is understood and applied. Electricity has always existed in the universe, but until man understood the law of its operation, he sat in darkness. So it is with the Spirit of God within you. It is there, absolute and all-powerful. But until you understand the law of mind, the law of your own being, you may walk through life as a beggar, unaware that you are sitting on a throne. When this law is understood and applied, it has the power to renew your mind and, consequently, renew your world. It can take you from frustration to fulfillment, from sickness to health, from poverty to affluence, and from fear to a peace that passes all human understanding. Stay with me, and give this your full attention, for we are laying the foundation of a new life. We are learning to live the kingdom of heaven not in a far-off future, but here and now. The mystery of the morning, let us begin where all creation begins at the dawn. Most people awaken in the morning without the slightest realization that they have been blessed with the most potent, the most plastic, and the most critical moment of the 24-hour cycle. When you open your eyes to a new day, you are not merely resuming a routine, you are witnessing the birth of a new world. The ancients understood this, the mystics understood this, but modern man has forgotten it. He wakes up and immediately plunges his mind into the race consciousness. He reaches for his phone, he checks the news, he remembers the arguments of yesterday, he worries about the bills of tomorrow, and in doing so he squanders the divine opportunity. You see, the day does not begin with the rising of the sun, the day begins in your mind. Before a bridge is built, it exists as a blueprint. Before a painting is seen, it exists as a vision. And before your day manifests in physical events, encounters, and circumstances, it exists as a state of consciousness. When you first wake up, your subconscious mind is in a unique state. It is like soft wax, ready to receive an impression. It is like a field of rich, dark soil that has been resting all night, waiting for the sower to drop a seed. In those first few minutes, that twilight zone between sleep and full wakefulness, you are standing at the control panel of your life. If you wake up and immediately think, I am tired, I am worried, or life is a struggle, you are impressing that command upon the soft wax of the subconscious. You are planting weeds in the fertile garden, and the law of mind is impersonal. It will take that seed of worry, nurture it, and grow it into a jungle of difficulties that you will have to hack through all day long. But if you understand the truth, you treat the morning with reverence. You realize that your mind, in those early moments, is not yet saturated by the noise of the world. It is open, it is receptive, it is clean, and in that holy instant you have the power to sow a word of truth that will flower into a divine experience. When that word is born of spirit, it is not just a sound, it is a vibration of omnipotence. It is energy, it is a seed of reality that must, by the inevitable law of the universe, bear fruit after its own kind. The law of belief, the great mechanism. Now, we must look deeper into the mechanism of this power. Jesus Christ, the greatest metaphysician who ever lived, did not come to teach us a new religion. He did not come to establish a sect or to create a hierarchy of priests. He came to reveal the nature of God and the nature of man. He came to show us that the kingdom of God is within us. He gave us the master key to the universe in one simple sentence, a sentence that contains the whole of psychology and metaphysics. According to your faith be it done unto you. Read that again. Ponder it. He did not say, according to your virtue, or according to your suffering, or according to your religious denomination. He said, according to your faith. But what is faith? This is where the confusion lies. The world thinks of faith as a blind hope, a sort of desperate wish that something might be true, even though it looks impossible. That is not the faith of the Bible. That is not the faith that moves mountains. Faith, scientifically understood, is a state of consciousness. It is a mental attitude. It is your dominant belief, your habitual way of looking at the world. It is the mental equivalent you hold in your deep mind. If you believe in disease, you have faith in disease, and you will demonstrate it. If you believe in failure, you have faith in failure, and you will manifest it. You are always using the law of faith, every hour of every day, but most people are using it in reverse. They have total faith in their fears, total faith in the power of the economy to hurt them, total faith in the weather to make them sick. Jesus was teaching us a law of mind. He was saying that your experience is the exact reflection of your deep-seated convictions. He was telling us that we are the architects of our own destiny through the power of our belief. This is a tremendous responsibility, but it is also a tremendous liberation. It means that you are not a victim of circumstances. You are not a cork bobbing on the ocean of fate. You are a creator. You have the power to change the belief, and in doing so you change the result. When you change your mind, really change it, deep down in the subconscious, you change your world. It is impossible for you to think one thing and produce another. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That is the law, the nature of the decree. This brings us to the power of the Word. In the Scriptures, we are told that, "In the beginning was the Word." This is not just history. It is a description of the creative process that is happening right now. Your word is your thought expressed. When you speak a decree, you are not merely talking to yourself. You are setting a law in motion. But here is the critical distinction. A decree is not a vain repetition. It is not mumbling a phrase over and over while your mind wanders to your grocery list. A true spiritual decree is a declaration of alignment with the eternal truth. Many students of truth make the mistake of repeating words without the realization. They say, "I am rich," but in their stomach they feel the knot of anxiety about their rent. They say, "I am healthy," but their mind is obsessively checking for symptoms. This is what the Bible calls vain repetitions. The word has power only when it is embodied with feeling, with conviction, with the substance of belief. You must understand that God is not a man in the sky who decides to grant favors to some and withhold them from others. God is principle. God is love. God is life. God is truth. And just as the principle of mathematics does not care who uses it, as long as it is used correctly, so the principle of being works for anyone who aligns themselves with it. When you decree, you are aligning yourself with the principle. You are tuning your mental radio to the station of God. You are saying, "I choose to stand in the truth of my being." The error of the race mind. Why is this so difficult at first? Why do we struggle to maintain this high watch? It is because we are surrounded by the race mind, the collective consciousness of humanity, which is steeped in fear, limitation, and separation. From the moment you were born, you were hypnotized by the world. You were taught that you are separate from God, that you are a fragile body subject to germs, accidents, and aging. You were taught that supply is limited, that you must fight to survive, and that happiness depends on what happens out there. This is the old man that St. Paul speaks of. It is the false self. It is the collection of errors and limitations that you have accepted as true. And when you wake up in the morning, this old man is waiting for you. He wants to dictate your day. He wants to tell you, you are tired, you are broke, you are lonely, you are afraid, but you, the spiritual you, the Christ within, have the power to silence that voice. You have the power to say, "Get thee behind me, Satan," not to a person, but to the false thought. You have the dominion to look at the appearance of lack and say, "I do not accept this. My God is my supply." You have the dominion to look at the appearance of sickness and say, "I do not accept this. God is my life." The practice of the presence, you do not need to be a saint to begin. You do not need to have a perfect understanding of metaphysics. You only need to be willing. You only need to have the desire to know God. Sit for a few moments each morning. It doesn't have to be an hour. 10 minutes of high realization is worth more than hours of sleepy prayer. Close your eyes to the outer world so that you may open them to the inner world. Speak to the indwelling Christ, not as a supplicant begging for crumbs, but as a son or daughter claiming your inheritance, declared, "I am that which God is. In spirit I am whole. In spirit I am perfect. In spirit I am free." When you do this, You are not trying to convince a reluctant God to give you something. You are reminding yourself of what is already yours. Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. That is the truth. The health is already there, but you have blocked it with fear. The abundance is already there, but you have dammed the flow with belief in poverty. The peace is there, but you have covered it with worry. Prayer, in the scientific sense, is not asking God to change his mind. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Prayer is changing your mind so that you can receive what God has already given. It is opening the blinds so the sunlight can stream in. The sun was always there, but you had to open the window. The mirror of the universe, observe your morning closely from this day forward. What are the first words that leave your lips? What is the emotional tone of your first thoughts? The universe is a giant mirror. It reflects back to you exactly what you project into it. It does not judge you. It does not punish you. It simply reflects you. If you frown at a mirror, the mirror frowns back. You cannot force the reflection to smile while you are frowning. You must change your face first. So it is with life. If you wake up and frown at your day, anticipating trouble, dreading your work, resenting your neighbor, the universe will faithfully reflect that frown back to you in the form of obstacles, delays, and friction. But if you wake up and smile at the truth, if you greet the day with the knowledge of God's presence, the universe must reflect that smile back to you in the form of harmony, opportunity, and grace. This is the law. It is immutable, it is impersonal, and it is the key to your freedom. The soil and the seed think of your mind as a garden. The thoughts you think are the seeds. The subconscious mind is the soil. The conditions in your life are the plants. If you want tomatoes, you do not plant thorns. If you want a life of peace, you cannot plant thoughts of conflict. Every morning is the sowing season. Every morning you walk out into the garden of your soul and you decide what will grow there. Most people are careless gardeners. They let the seeds of the world blow in. Seeds of fear, seeds of gossip, seeds of illness, and then they wonder why their life is a tangle of weeds. They cry out, "Why has God done this to me?" But God has not done it. They have done it by neglecting their garden. You are called to be a conscious gardener. You are called to stand at the gate of your mind and watch. When a negative thought comes, you examine it. Does this align with the truth of God? Is this what I want to harvest? If not, you pull it up by the roots and you cast it out. You replace it with a seed of truth. The I am power in the center of your being is the I am. This is the name of God. When Moses asked God for his name, the answer was, I am Tit I am. Every time you say, I am, you are using the name of God. You are using the creative power of the universe. When you say, I am sick, you are using the power of God to create sickness. When you say, I am weak, you are using the power of the infinite to create weakness. You are taking the pure, unconditioned energy of spirit and stamping it with a limitation. This is why the morning watch is so vital. It is your opportunity to qualify the I am with the truth. Start your day by saying, I am the child of the living God. I am surrounded by divine love. I am guided by divine wisdom. I am protected by divine power. Feel the majesty of those words. Feel the shift in your vibration. You are no longer a small, isolated ego fighting against the world. You are a center of God consciousness. You are an outlet for the divine. Overcoming the resistance now, I will not deceive you. At first, this will feel like work. Your human mind, accustomed to the old way of thinking, will resist. It will tell you that you are just making up words. It will point to your problems and say, look at this debt, look at this pain. How can you say you are prosperous and whole? This is the test. This is where the true student of truth is separated from the mere dabbler. The intellect lives in the world of effects. It judges by appearances. But the spirit lives in the world of cause. It judges by righteous judgment. You must persist. You must be like the captain of a ship in a storm. The waves may be high, the wind may be howling, but the captain does not let go of the wheel. He keeps his eyes on the compass. Your compass is the truth. If you persist, if you stand your ground in the morning silence, the old man will eventually tire. The subconscious mind, seeing your determination, will begin to accept the new orders. It will say, very well, if he insists that he is prosperous, I must make it so. And slowly, surely, the chemicalization will happen. The outer world will begin to rearrange itself to match your inner pattern. Conclusion of the first step. So, this is your assignment. This is the first step in the great demonstration. You are to reclaim your mornings. You are to treat the first waking hour as holy ground. You are to stop reacting to the world and start creating it. You are to understand that faith is not a gamble, it is a law. You are to understand that God is not a distant ruler. He is the breath of your breath, the mind of your mind. The kingdom is here. The power is here. The presence is here. But it waits for your recognition. It waits for you to open the door. Tomorrow morning when you open your eyes, remember this message. Remember that you are holding the pen of your life in your hand. Do not let the world write a tragedy on the blank page of your day. Take the pen with authority, dip it in the ink of spirit, and write a masterpiece. Write of health, write of love, write of success, write of God. For this is the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Here is, as part address of the script, it is significantly expanded to meet the length requirements, diving deeply into the metaphysical mechanics of consciousness, the feeling, nature of thought, the phenomenon of chemicalization, and the absolute necessity of forgiveness, written strictly in the style of Emmet Fox. Part-time, clearing the consciousness and the great law of substitution. As introduction, the architecture of the soul. Welcome back to the study of the great law. In our previous contemplation, we established the primacy of the morning watch and the fundamental truth that the outer world is but a reflection of the inner mental state. Now, we must advance into the deeper mechanics of how this transformation is actually achieved. We must move from the general understanding that thought is creative to the specific, practical, and sometimes difficult work of cleaning the mental house. You must understand that true change, the kind of change that heals a chronic disease, that breaks a cycle of poverty, that restores a broken relationship, begins and ends in the invisible realm. The invisible is the cause. The visible is merely the effect. You cannot live a new life with old thoughts. It is a metaphysical impossibility. You might change your location, you might change your job, you might even change your circle of friends, but if you carry the same mental atmosphere with you, you will reproduce the same conditions in your new environment. Just as you cannot fill a cup that is already full of stagnant water with fresh spring water, you cannot receive a greater demonstration of God's bounty if your mind is cluttered with the debris of the past, with memories of injury, with fears of the future, and with old, crystallized beliefs that deny the nature of God. As are the theory of mental equivalence. To understand why your prayers have not yet been answered, you must grasp the law of mental equivalence. This is the secret key to all successful demonstration. The law states that you can only possess in the outer world that for which you possess a mental equivalent in the inner world. Everything that exists in your life today, your home, your body, your bank balance, your reputation, is the physical manifestation of a mental equivalent you have built up over years. If you are struggling with lack, it is because you have built a mental equivalent of poverty. You may want money, you may pray for money, you may work hard for money, but if your deep-seated mental equivalent is one of not enough, struggle or hardship, the law must produce lack. The same is true for health. If your mental equivalent is one of susceptibility, if you believe that you are at the mercy of drafts, microbes, and age, then you have provided the mental mold into which the universal energy must flow to create sickness. So, when you decree in the morning, you are not merely reciting poetry. You are engaging in the work of Oz, building a new mental equivalent. You are tearing down the old structure of fear and limitation, brick by brick, and you are erecting a new temple of truth. You are saying to your inner world, "Today I choose truth, and I leave the illusion behind." You are furnishing your mental home with the furniture of luxury, peace, and health. Long before these things arrive in a moving van, the role of emotion, the feeling nature. Now, we must address the most common stumbling block for the student of truth. Why do some people repeat affirmations for years with no result, while others seem to demonstrate a miracle in a week? The answer lies in the emotional nature. Thought without feeling is dead. It is like a bird without wings. It may hop along the ground, but it cannot soar. A purely intellectual statement of truth. God is love. I am wealthy. If it remains only in the intellect, has very little creative power. It is what Jesus called a vain repetition. The subconscious mind, the part of you that actually does the work of creation, does not speak the language of logic. It speaks the language of as feeling. It is moved by emotion, by conviction, by deep sentiment. When you worry, you are using the law perfectly, but negatively. Worry is simply a mental picture of something you don't want, electrified by the emotion of fear. Because the emotion is strong, the demonstration comes quickly. You worry about a bill, you feel the knot in your stomach, and lo and behold, an unexpected expense arrives to match your fear. To use the law constructively, you must generate the same intensity of feeling for what you do want. It is not enough to say, I am health, with a dull, flat effect. You must feel the vibrant life of God coursing through your veins. You must catch the tone of health. You must foster a sense of gratitude and joys as if the healing had already taken place. This is why the Bible says, rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say, rejoice. This is not just religious instruction, it is scientific psychological advice. Joy is the highest vibration of faith. When you can rejoice in your good before it appears, you have signed the contract, and the delivery is guaranteed, the phenomenon of chemicalization. But here, I must issue a serious warning, a warning that, if heeded, will save you from despair. When you begin to apply the truth boldly, when you start to pour the high-potency chemical of spiritual thought into the muddy mixture of your old consciousness, a reaction will take place. We call this Ersh chemicalization. Suppose you have a glass of muddy water. You decide to clean it by pouring in a stream of pure, crystal-clear water. At first, what happens? The mud at the bottom is stirred up. The water looks dirtier than it did before. It becomes chaotic.
It looks chaotic. A novice seeing this would say, stop! You are making it worse!
It was quiet before, and now it is a mess. But the wise man knows that the stirring up of the mud is the necessary process of purification. The dirt must rise to the surface to be washed away. In your life, this chemicalization often looks like a sudden worsening of conditions. You start praying for prosperity, and suddenly you lose your job. You start praying for peace in the home, and suddenly an argument breaks out. You start praying for health, and you get a headache.
Do not be afraid.
This is the greatest sign of success. It means the truth is working. It means the light is hitting the dark corners of your subconscious and forcing the shadows to flee. The old man, the old negative personality, is fighting for his life. He knows that his time is short, and he is making a last desperate stand. If you panic, if you say, this stuff doesn't work, I'm quitting, then the mud settles back down, and you remain in your old bondage. But if you stand firm, if you look at the chaos and say, I know what this is the dusting of the room, this is the purification of the temple, I will not be moved, then the chaos will subside, the mud will wash away, and you will be left with the clear, pure water of a transformed life. Chemicalization is not a failure, it is a transition. It is the bridge between the old world and the new. Cross it with courage. Rest the illusion of timing. One of the errors that causes chemicalization to feel unbearable is our addiction to time. We want the result now by the clock on the wall. But the law of God does not work with human clocks. It works with spiritual ripeness. Impatience is a form of doubt. When you keep checking for results, has it here yet? Why hasn't it happened? You are digging up the seed to see if it has roots. And every time you dig it up, you kill it. You must develop the spiritual fortitude to wait without anxiety. This is not the passive waiting of a victim, it is the active, expectant waiting of a mother who knows the child is coming and prepares the room with joy. The mother does not fret that the pregnancy is taking 9 months. She knows it is the natural order. Your demonstration has its own gestation period. It depends on how much fear you have to clear out, how consistent your prayer is, and how deep your conviction grows. But know this, God never fails, as the law never fails. If the result has not appeared, the work is not yet finished in you. Keep clearing, keep decreeing, keep believing. The breakthrough often comes just one moment after you felt you could not hold on any longer. The great barrier, resentment. Now we come to the most critical section of this message. If you forget everything else, remember this. There is one thing, and really only one thing, that can completely block the flow of divine power in your life. That thing is resentment. You cannot demonstrate the kingdom of heaven if you are holding on to resentment, anger, condemnation, or guilt. It is metaphysically impossible. You cannot have a healthy body and a resentful mind. The two vibrations are incompatible. You cannot have divine prosperity and at the same time wish ill upon a competitor or a family member. Imagine an electric wire that brings light to your home. If you cut that wire, the light goes out. It does not matter if you cut it with a golden knife or a rusty knife. It does not matter if the cut is large or microscopic. If the circuit is broken, the current stops. Resentment is the cutting of the wire. It severs your conscious connection with God. You may pray for hours, you may chant, you may fast, but if there is one person in your life whom you have not forgiven, one old grudge you are nursing in a dark corner of your heart, you are praying into a vacuum. Jesus was extremely clear on this. He said, If you bring your gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. He puts forgiveness before prayer. Why? Because an unforgiving heart is closed. It is clenched tight like a fist. And a closed fist cannot receive a gift, nor can it give one. So the true meaning of forgiveness. Many people struggle with this because they misunderstand what forgiveness is. They think forgiveness means saying, what you did was okay. They think it means becoming a doormat or condoning evil. This is not what spiritual forgiveness means. To forgive does not mean to condone. It does not mean you have to like the person. It does not mean you have to invite them to dinner. To forgive means to us to give up the desire for retaliation. It means to release the emotional charge attached to the memory. It means to lose and let go. It means that when you think of that person, you no longer feel the sting of hatred or the heavy burden of victimhood. You forgive not for their sake, but for your sake. The person you hate may be miles away, eating their dinner happily, completely unaware of your feelings. Meanwhile, your hatred is eating you alive. It is poisoning your blood, clouding your judgment, and blocking your prosperity. Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. The technique of forgiveness. How do you forgive the unforgivable? How do you release a deep trauma? You do it scientifically through the use of the word. You may not feel like forgiving. That does not matter. The feeling will come later. You must make the choice with your will. You sit down in your quiet time and you say, I fully and freely forgive her name. I lose him and let him go. I forgive the act and I forgive the actor. He is free and I am free. There is no bond between us but the love of God. I wish him well in his own place, but I am done with this burden. You may have to say this 100 times. You may have to say it every day for a month. But every time you say it, you are filing away at the chain. And one day, it may be a Tuesday afternoon, or while you are driving your car, you will suddenly feel the chain snap. You will think of that person and feel nothing, just a neutral peace. That is when you know the work is done. That is when the dam breaks and the waters of your good come rushing in. Self-forgiveness. The final hurdle. There is one person who is often harder to forgive than any enemy, and that is yourself. Many of you are carrying heavy sacks of guilt. Guilt for past mistakes, guilt for time wasted, guilt for relationships ruined. Hear me well, guilt is not a virtue, it is a vice. It is a form of pride. It is you saying, my sins are too big for God to wash away. A God does not condemn you. The universe does not hold grudges. The moment you turn from a mistake and seek the truth, the mistake is wiped out in the eyes of spirit. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. You must forgive yourself. You must stop looking back at Sodom and Gomorrah, or you will turn into a pillar of salt, which means you will become frozen in your past. You cannot drive a car forward if you are staring in the rearview mirror. Make this decree. I forgive myself for all past errors. I did the best I knew at the time. Now I know better and I do better. The past is dead. I live in the eternal now. I am clean. I am new. The law of substitution. Once you have cleared the ground through forgiveness, you must learn how to manage your thoughts hour by hour. You cannot simply have an empty mind. The mind must be occupied. If you do not fill it with God, the world will fill it with garbage. This brings us to the great law of substitution. This is the practical method for controlling your thoughts. You cannot dismiss a negative thought by fighting it. If I tell you, do not think of a polar bear, what is the first thing you see? A polar bear. The more you fight the bear, the more vivid it becomes. You cannot say, I will not think of sickness. That fixes your mind on sickness. You cannot say, I will not worry about money. That focuses your mind on the lack of money. The only way to get rid of a negative thought is to substitute it with a positive one. You must switch the picture. If the thought of the polar bear comes, you do not fight it, you immediately think of a giraffe. You cannot think of a polar bear and a giraffe at the same exact moment. The mind can only hold one object at a time. So, when the thought of fear comes, do not argue with it. Immediately turn your attention to God. Say, God is my refuge, or simply repeat the word peace. Or start reciting the 23rd Psalm. It does not matter so much what you substitute, as long as it is constructive and you do it immediately. This is the great battle. The negative thought will try to return. It will say, "But look at the bank account! It's real." You must turn away again. God is my supply. It will come back a third time. You turn away a third time. This is what Jesus meant when he said to turn the other cheek. He was not telling you to be physically beaten. He was telling you to turn your attention away from the evil and face the good. You turn the other side of your face, the spiritual side, towards the problem. A scientific prayer vs. begging. As you master the law of substitution and clear your heart of resentment, your prayers will change. You will stop begging. The average person prays like this: "Oh God, please, please help me. I am in such trouble. Things are so bad. Please fix it." Do you see the error? This prayer affirms the trouble. It emphasizes the badness of the situation. It assumes God is far away and needs to be convinced to help. It is a prayer of unbelief, and it is answered according to the law, according to your faith in the trouble, be it done unto you. Scientific prayer, the prayer of the enlightened soul, is different. It does not inform God of the problem. God already knows the solution. It does not beg, it claims. Scientific prayer sounds like this: "The Father, I know that you are my life. I know that in your mind there is no lack and no disease. I align myself with your harmony. I claim the abundance that is mine by divine right. I thank you that it is already done." This is the prayer that heals. It is a movement of consciousness from the problem to the solution. It is stepping off the sinking sand of appearance onto the solid rock of truth, the power of the silence. To do this effectively, you must cultivate the silence. You cannot do this work while you are running around, distracted by the radio, the television, and the chatter of the world. You must have a secret place of the Most High. This is your daily period of withdrawal. It is the time when you unplug the phone, close the door, and go within. In the silence, you are not talking to God so much as you are listening to God. You are resting in the atmosphere of the divine. You are letting the mud settle. You are letting the waters clear. It is in the silence that you receive the click. The click is that moment of absolute realization when you know that the prayer is answered. You feel a burden lift. You feel a sudden sense of lightness. You may not see the money yet, or the healing, but you know it is coming. The mental equivalent has been established. Once you get the click, you can stop praying about that specific issue. You just give thanks. To continue asking after you have received the assurance is actually a lack of faith. You just say, "Thank you, Father," and go about your business. A preparation for the day. So, we have seen that the work is internal. We have seen that we must build a mental equivalent of what we desire. We have seen that we must infuse our thought with feeling. We have seen that we must brave the storm of chemicalization without fear. We have seen that we must cut the cords of resentment through forgiveness. And we have seen that we must use the law of substitution to keep the mind true to the course. This is the cleaning of the vessel. This is the tuning of the instrument. You cannot play a symphony on a violin that is out of tune, covered in mud and missing strings. You are the instrument of God. You are the vessel through which the infinite life wants to express itself. If you are clogged with fear, God cannot play a melody of faith through you. If you are clogged with hate, God cannot play a melody of love through you. But if you are clean, if you are willing, if you are persistent, then there is no limit to the harmony that can be played through your life. The world is waiting for you to take your rightful place. The world is starving for people who know who they are, not people who recite creeds, but people who demonstrate the power. You are called to be one of those people. You are called to be a light in the darkness. But a lamp cannot give light if the glass is smoky. Clean the glass. Clean it with the daily practice of forgiveness. Clean it with the daily denial of the false and the affirmation of the true. As you stand on the precipice of a new way of living, understand that this is not a hobby. This is a life. It is a discipline. It requires the same dedication that a musician gives to his scales or an athlete gives to his training. But the reward is the kingdom. The reward is a life where miracles are natural, where struggle is a memory, and where you walk in the conscious companionship of the great friend. The ground is cleared. The seed is ready. The soil is fertile. Now we must learn how to plant the day, how to water it, and how to harvest the fruit without fail. Conclusion of the second step. Do not rush past this section. If there is resentment in your heart, stop here. Go no further until you have dealt with it. If there is fear of the chemicalization, sit with it until you find your courage. You are building for eternity. Do not use cheap materials. Do not build on the sand of wishful thinking. Build on the rock of spiritual understanding. The power is within you. It has always been within you. It is the Father who doth the works. Your job is simply to get the self out of the way so the Father can work. Cleanse the heart. Purify the mind. Stand ready. For the glory of the Lord is about to be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.